Welcome back to the Electrify podcast, brought to you by the creators of Electrify Expo, North America's largest EV festival, coming to a major city near you. Oh man, it's a new era. It's driver's era. My man, if you can't see him, you know him, you love him. Ron Carr, aka Ron Zaras, joining us here in the building. Throw up the horn. Is that a I love you or is that a medal? Is that like, because thumbs out means I love you. Thumbs tucked means rock and roll. I love rock and roll. I love rock and roll. Ron Zaras.
Whatever. It's just, for me, it's just all about having a good time, man.
Dude, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Speaking of which, we're going to talk all things Ron Carr. Most recently, Pikes Peak record holder Ron Zaras. Put some respect on it.
Insane.
Holy shnikes, brother. Dude, this is amazing. I'm so stoked for you. And like, we go back many a years to gording ourselves in Greece with Ken Block, RIP. Yep. That's how we knew each other prior, because you were at
before
Harris Publications.
Yep.
And
a little bit there, and then early days. I think the first time we hung out together was after, I think, the first Gymkhana grid we ran at Irwindale in 2010, something like that. Yep. Me, you, Vaughn, Ken, some hibachi, some
Chris Forsberg, Chris Seda, Bucky Lasik. Remember Forsberg passing out, and I think there's a photo of Forsberg just like drunk, and we're trying to feed him or water him with like a weird lock.
It was a display carafe. It was never engineered to actually hold liquid, but we were drinking out of it, and it was dusty. The times were dusty. We had the bomb burrito from 7-Eleven. Listen, it was a different time. We were younger. We were more able to fight off disease.
I did this yesterday. Don't get it confused that party stopped. The party continues, and my wife can angrily attest to this. You know,
I love to see it.
Yeah, no. Let's just go right into it, dude. Congratulations, Pikes Peak Hill Climb. You were in the gym metaphorically, but also like just learning that mountain. What is your take on Pikes Peak Hill Climb and you and the Hyundai coming together? For somebody that doesn't know, what did you do?
So this year, for the 2024 Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, I drove for the Hyundai factory effort. They brought 4 vehicles, 2 fully modded, big aero, big power, all that kind of stuff, and 2 production vehicles. And, they wanted to tell a story and set a record. So they took 2 cars and they stuck me in there to kind of be able to tell a from behind the wheel story of what it's like to drive one of these cars. And for really kind of a regular non-professional race car driver guy to jump in an Ioniq 5N, that's the car I drove, to be able to jump in one and conquer, one of America's second oldest races, and also one of the most insane.
What's the first?
I believe it's Indy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Love this. So here you are in this production vehicle. Ioniq 5N is, dude, let's just talk about that manufacturer. Like what a sniper, like what a silent assassin coming up. And really, here we are, car guys, you've had multiple Evos, you've had off-road vehicles. There obviously that holds a special place. We're on that cusp, right? We're on the tape CD digital, here's my son who's on the absolute digital, who's 17, but we're still combustion guys. But
absolutely,
let's talk about your intro to electric. Was this kind of your big, like, holy cow kind of experience? Was this your like put on your heels and you're excited about it? Or were you like, I don't know about this, and then they proved you wrong?
Kind of. So the first time I ever experienced an electric vehicle was probably somewhere around 2016. We were doing the FIA World Rallycross Championship with Ken Block, and we went to Norway. There's a race there. I believe it's Hell, Norway.
Yep.
So we start driving around and I see Teslas everywhere. And at the time, like, that's just not something you saw a lot of. And I'm like, what is this? This is crazy. Little did I know there was a big subsidy, like a big incentive to run Teslas there. And Andreas Backerud, the guy that was Ken's teammate at the time, his uncle had one, and he took us for a drive. This uncle is like old school Norwegian rallycross guy, and we get in the car, and he just hammered out the second we got in the car, and I was like, oh my God, like the immediate torque, the first time you experience that, it's like a pit in your stomach. But it really showed me that, before that, my whole idea of EV was like not a Prius, but even before that, Honda Insight, like hypermiling, slow, tiny tires. And this was like my intro to, whoa, this is like a kick in the pants. Fast forward to many years later, 2023, Hyundai let me drive an Ioniq 5N pre-production model. And it was that feeling, but not just in a straight line, in corners too. And the way that they made the dynamics of the car work is like throttle lift oversteer, selectable all-wheel drive or all rear-wheel drive, be able to turn all the nannies off and actually slide the thing. Like all the things that you want to do as a car guy and have fun with, like this thing would do, but in this like SUV package thing. So really, yeah, it was my first major experience of throwing an EV around like a racetrack, in a competition setting. And it was a very, very eye-opening experience.
And what's that thing like? I feel like this is a Hyundai commercial, real quick, but why not? I mean, I was like, why not have? I was like, Ron, get on this podcast. Like, I was so stoked for you. I DM'd you. I'm, like you've had accolades in the past, but this is you and a car versus a mountain. So I think this is a big testimonial to your progression as a car enthusiast and as an ambassador of a good time. This is a huge stepping stone. Am I correct?
100%, man. It's the biggest thing I've ever done behind the wheel of a vehicle by far. And it took a lot of work to get there. And honestly, Hyundai was super helpful in doing it. And never in my life did I think that I would be excited about competing in a Hyundai. But here we are. And really, I mean, they've been cooking for quite a bit. But I think you're really starting to see a lot of the stuff that's coming out of that progress that they've done.
It's really impressive just as a manufacturer, and even Genesis, like that vehicle, the value is there. I think that's what's really interesting, right? I mean, I drive my old Tundra. I always talk about this. I drive my old Tundra. My son's got a newer car than me. My wife has a BMW X6. But Hyundai is a real competitor and now a winner. So I think it's so cool to, like I said before we hit record, not exclusive to EV, but primarily we're talking EV. How is it, you being, like I said, a combustion boy, this electric world? Are you like excited for things to come? Or are you like, what's your take on EV? Again, people know and love you from Hoonigan, obviously being, behind the scenes with Ken. Again, put some respect on it. RIP Ken Block. Obviously one of the most influential people in motorsports of the last 2 decades. And still to this day, which is amazing. Look at the Block family. I mean, we're seeing Leah's journey, Micah, Kira, even Lucy, where do you stand as far as EV?
So I stand in a place of, I think there's a car for every situation, right? And I think with EV, there was this initial scare of like, oh, well, gas engines are just gone. It's all going to be replaced. Everything's done. Like it's over. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think we're in a transition period. Like in gas powered vehicles, that's not going away anytime very soon. Sure, like a lot more new cars and brand new stuff that's coming out. Yeah, like there's a move towards that. And I think if you look at vehicles from like a mass commuter perspective, like if you're in a city where EV makes sense, yeah, why not? Like you get better incentives on, HOV lanes, you get way better performance just going, from here to there. And in a place like Pikes Peak, it makes a lot of sense because, there's a lot of drawbacks to running a gas powered car up there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it makes sense that the fastest car ever to go up Pikes is an EV. So Look, I love the spirit of gas powered cars. I think they will always have a place for me. That's where, I grew up watching cars that spit flames and, make all the noise and everything. That's not going to go away. That's never going to go away from me. But what I'm really excited to see is that people care about making EV fun and dynamic to drive. And I see a couple companies doing that. And really, Hyundai's kind of nailing that with the 5N. So I'm excited about the possibilities that it brings and the places that it can excel at. So it's not a doom and gloom thing for me. I think like there's applications where that works, and Hyundai still makes really good gas powered cars too. The Elantra N is a hilarious car to drive. It's an Elantra.
Why
It's
do you say hilarious?
sedan.
I don't know if that's part of their subtext, but it's a hilarious car to drive. I don't think that's going in a commercial.
Kind of.
Why is it hilarious? Like, does it have a clown nose? Like what?
No. When I say hilarious, it's one of those experiences where you get behind the wheel and it does things that you don't expect it to do. It's dynamic in a way that you don't expect it to be. Like it again makes pops and bangs and throws you in the back of the seat, but it's an Elantra. Like that's crazy. Like what? Like why? How is this car so fun to drive?
I dated a girl in high school named Elantra. I'm joking. I did not.
What was that school district?
Yeah, exactly. San Diego.
There you go.
No, I'm joking. Yeah, I mean the whole N line is really impressive. I remember announcing Red Bull Crashed Ice, and they had the Veloster N, and that was, I mean, the N line has really progressed, and that's why I say just Hyundai is leading the pack. I mean, Tesla is obviously, they're spearheading a lot of things. I mean, the car farts. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff that they do. There really is. But, I think a really major move that Hyundai did was they brought in this guy, Albert Biermann of BMW M car fame. I mean, cars that are known for eliciting a driving experience. Mm-hmm. They brought him over and he really put a lot of that DNA into the Hyundai cars. So at risk of sounding like an absolute, Hyundai shill, you can't avoid the fact, like I wouldn't have said yes to this if the car was lame to drive, you know? But that was a big factor of like, I had driven one. I know what they handle like, I know what they could do. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. This could be really fun. So big props to them on investing in motorsports and investing in making cars just so fun to drive, even down to Albert saying like, the simulated gears on the 5N, you can make it shift seamlessly, completely devoid of feeling, whatever. But he said, no, you need like a kick in the pants on every gear shift to really feel like you're, accelerating, moving up. Like they don't have to do that. That doesn't give you better longevity or economy or really like sell vastly more models. They do it because they can. And I think that's cool.
Well, it's a tactile experience. And so explain for anybody listening right now, as my son's coming downstairs. Hey, T-Bone.
T-Bone.
Yeah, look at this guy. Explain to the people that don't know, because Becky, Queen Bee, she did a great walk around video concurrently of you running Pikes Peak. Shifting, electric. So this always comes up, Ron, and it bears repeating. Oh, the sound. I just can't. There's no audio. Like I need an exhaust, right? And then also shifting. That's another one. Yeah. So what did Hyundai do to create this tactile experience that you engage with? What did they do?
So in an EV, when you hit the throttle, you get all the wheel speed. So if the tires are spinning, you could get wheel speed up to whatever the top speed of that motor is. There's nothing stopping it in between. If you think about a gearbox, first gear limits you to, let's say, 30 miles an hour, maybe, 40. Second gear limits you to 60. So really what they're doing is they're digitally limiting the wheel speed that you could do. So if you're trying to do something like drifting in an EV, it's actually quite challenging with the one gear because you do 10% more throttle. And if there's no real resistance, you'll just spin out. It's a lot harder to control. Where with the simulated gears, you can say, yeah, lock me into second and then just mash it, keep it pinned. And it does like a little rev limiter for you, and you could keep the wheel speed through there. And it really just, brings it back to like a traditional transmission. So it's merging those two worlds of old school and new school, giving you a little bit of that experience.
And that's such a compliment, because there still are green texters out there. Okay. Sorry. Like I say that because
them,
I don't know. You're like, I don't listen to broke. I'm joking. Don't spit out your water. I have great friends that are still green texters. And for those that you don't get it, is basically you're on an Android as opposed to an iPhone. The iPhone, and again, I was not an early adopter of an iPhone. I said this, I bought an iPhone. I'm like, I tried to transfer things. It didn't work out. I was a BlackBerry boy, dude. I was a QWERTY. I was a QWERTY guy.
Keyboard.
Give me a keyboard. I'm like, what is this? How, why? And then now, of course. But I think we touched on something there that you initially said. It's a compliment. It like you said, we're on that cusp of being the analog, and then look at us. Like, I have an amazing record collection, as humbly as possible. Because that is the best audio sound.
Absolutely.
Like, so metaphorically, it's a compliment. You can listen to records on your Sonos. You could do that's, I think, analogously, that's the marriage that we all want. And Toyota, I think, did a good job of saying, like, okay, we're not going all in. Dodge went hard into the paint, right? Dodge is like, we're going electric. You're like, I don't know about that. And then they dropped that. What's the Challenger? Not the red eye, but the 420, whatever, that crazy hot rod that they dropped into Las Vegas and like in a.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, it's insane.
Dodge does some crazy shit. I mean, they were throwing Hellcat motors and everything too, right before that.
And now they're just doing side shows and takeovers. So they're
unofficial
car of takeovers.
The Formula takeover car.
Oh man. So what's in your lineup right now? What's in the Ron garage?
I've still got the Evo 9 RS, which is just one of those like max out all stats cars. I don't know why.
It's such a bad girlfriend. You're like,
you gotta do it.
I mean, you're happily married, but you got this side piece that's your Evo 9.
Yeah, it's a just absolute basket case. I mean, it makes 815 to the wheels, weighs 2,800 pounds, carbon everything. It's like just max out all stats. You got to do it once, So I got that thing. I have a Lancia Delta Integrale, which is an old Italian 91 rally car. Lexus GX 460, 2011, the workhorse. It tows, it hauls, it's got AC seats. It's got, my perfect balance of being old school enough, but, also with some new comforts. Wow. The wife has a Mark 7 GTI, and then also working on a 93 FDRX7.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Dude. All right. Well, let's just go into it. For those that are not watching this, just listening, driver's era. You've been kind of glancing my quest. You nothing's officially out. Seeing, like, I love all the like he said, she said bullshit. Like, I feel like Limp Bizkit right now. But you, Vin, Scotto, like you guys have always been architects of Hoonigan and doing things. I mean, what's driver's era, dude? What's cooking in the kitchen?
It's kind of an experiment. So Vinny and I, we had this like, we would hang out the most at Hoonigan. We kind of had the most similar interests. We really enjoyed track cars. We really enjoyed, drivers' cars. And we started having this conversation when we started really kind of getting all these cars from the late 90s to the 2010s, right? We started cycling through. So like E92 M3, Evo 9 RS, S2000, all these cars that we felt were the peak of analog before digital really came in and really started like doing mandatory traction control and ESC and all that. So the conversation started from us just nerding out over what we think are the pinnacle of drivers' cars. Maybe not the absolute fastest on track, but they do give you the most experience. And that kind of evolved into just talking about like, the driver's era. Like, this is just like, get out and drive, whether it's on track, whether it's a canyon, it's a road trip with your friends, like get that project going. Like, don't worry about making it perfect or anything like that. Just go out and drive and do the thing, have fun in your cars, track them, do everything possible. And that's really where we're starting out. truthfully, Vin's been putting a lot of work into his YouTube channel. I've been doing the Pikes Peak thing, working with Leah. So it's been a slow burn to get it going, but also kind of building up, getting the logo out there, doing some things. We've actually got some things coming up in the next couple weeks that are exciting with that too.
Cool.
And you'll probably see a launch in about 2 months, something like that.
And is it primarily just going for the jugular here? Is it YouTube? Is it content? It's you and Vin? Like, who's part of this team? Because again, you're seeing people leaving Donut and all the speculation of what's going on here and all that. And I mean, there's a lot of noise right now, and like I felt like pre-COVID, we were going 100 miles per hour. COVID, we go 0. Now we're going to $120 with a Dutch out the sunroof saying money ain't a thing.
Yeah.
It's so what is it? Like,
so for us, from our side, it's literally just me and Vin trying to stay doing fun things in the automotive space. So really, it's an apparel company. Okay. An apparel company that seeks to tell stories in automotive culture through apparel. So you and I know when we got into cars, it was early days. Like, you were kind of a nerd. Like, nobody really cared about your 2000 Civic Si, with a turbo B series. Like, nobody really, like, the world was so small, right? Yep. And everybody kind of knew everything. You had the forums and people outside of the world didn't really care. And then we got to watch automotive culture take over again, like just sweep the youth. You got people our age that never were into cars that are watching Drive to Survive. They're looking at 911s, like, they're doing all this stuff. So there's a lot of storytelling that I still really want to tell in car culture. And I think doing that through content paired with apparel is a fun way to do that.
And it's really cool to see that. And I, there obviously, you have your race service, you have your donut. And I always tell people, I'm like, dude, Jesse James and, Orange County Choppers didn't make, I mean, obviously they built $1 million bike, right? And Jesse got tapped. But the way they made money was cotton. They sold T-shirts,
That's it.
and then they sold Walmart, and then so, but what you can't just make a shirt like, I'm making Send It gear, like I've been announcing Formula Drift for 21 years. I'm like, fine, hat. I'm doubling down right now. So, I think the compliment is that you're wordsmith, you're authentic, you live it, as opposed to somebody who's just a freaking narc. What's your favorite Gatorade flavor? If you don't say the color, you're a narc. I think
that's number one tell.
The big number one tell. You're like, oh, Blueberry Blast, you're a narc.
Get out of here.
Yeah, but you and Vin actually live it. And Vin is rotating cars like, Crazy Vin's lot. Come on down. We got an NSX. We got a BMW. We got a Raptor. I got 8 Raptors down here. They're cycling through. Come on down.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. But you live the life. And that's that story is going to be told, which is really cool. So I appreciate you sharing that with me. Driver's era. So content, you and Vin doubling down, and just experience it. And like you said, just drive it. I mean, you guys just over this last weekend, 4th of July weekend, don't know when this is going to air, but you guys going to car meets and hanging out and people love you. So what's next outside of Driver's era? Because you've been kind of lurking in the shadows. You've been, since your kind of departure from Hoonigan, which a company also put some respect on it. You created the motto, just ain't care.
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. I love that you know that. I didn't know we talked about that story. Yeah.
I just knew it. I was like, what is this? And I mean, I'm just going to, go ahead and, grab a tissue. One of my most fun, memorable times with you and Ken Block was Greece. You, me, Matt Cicillo.
So good, man.
That we talked about Cocaine Dinosaur. It was amazing. Go ahead and roll the tape. Yeah. That will forever be probably one of my most memorable car events. And you happen to be there, and you're a part of that.
Such a phenomenal time. And then the mayor, the crazy ass, like straight out of a novel, like the long flowing hair, the Carrera glasses, the iced out everything, like makeup. Yeah, just full. Yeah, that was a crazy experience. That was a
Marathon Greece, Gymkhana Grid. Don't know. I can't recall what year it was. Do you remember what year?
2018. Yep. I want to say that was 18, somewhere around there. Yeah.
We stayed in this decent hotel, nice hotel. Dude owned the restaurant across the street, and we ate like kings
Kings.
on kings, dude.
Yes.
There
Yeah.
was more food than a freaking buffet. It was bonkers.
Yeah.
But yeah, you came up with Just Ain't Care. I mean, and how crazy was that season of Hoonigan and just seeing that again? I mean, Gym 3, France, Gymkhana 3, you're
Yeah.
there. That was supposed to, is that public knowledge about it wasn't supposed to be in France? I think that's out, right?
No, that one was always going to be in France, but we had to go back to film it.
Oh,
We had to film it twice because we had issues with tires and an issue with a car that was heavily damaged. So it was a two for filming, and we had to go back to the pockets of DC, be like, "Hey, man, so that production, it's going to be twice as expensive," and they're like, "What?" And that, I mean, remember, like Gymkhana 1 was shot
Gymkhana
like
practice.
Gymkhana
There's no Gym 1. It's just
That's
called
true.
Gymkhana
That's true.
practice. Sorry.
Gymkhana practice, the very first one, that was like homies on a VX shot like a skate video, you know, and 2 upped the game a little bit, but it was still a street based car. And Gymkhana 3 was like, damn, we got Ford out here, we got a rally cross car, body in white, roll cage, all race stuff. That was really like a game changing thing for us. And the ride from there was insane. I mean, I remember thinking we did Gymkhana 5 in SF in
Best one.
2012.
Would you say best? I would say Gym 5 is the best Gymkhana.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, just if you think about the series, everything it is, everything it means, yeah, absolutely. Okay. And at the time, I was like, this is the peak. Like that's it. Where do we go from here? That was 2012. Like we still went for another 10, 12 years after that, just hammering Gymkhana videos. It was crazy. So I was super, super lucky to learn so much. I mean, front row seat to one of the greatest automotive and action sports marketers there was, meeting so many people like yourself and being in all these different series and witnessing all this stuff. So really the brand for me is kind of like a thesis of all that in a small way. Like we have no real ambitions of being the next biggest thing. Like we want to keep it small. We want to keep it our thing. We don't want to make it like over bloated and to where we don't have any control over it. Like that's what we're trying to avoid.
What a marriage, you know, obviously the secret, right? Here's an opportunity, here's a solution, that's success. And as you said, Ken, you know, arguably one of the best marketers of all time. I remember Gymkhana practice coming out 0 to 60. You know, Ken wanted to build a Gymkhana car. Ken Takahashi was doing those events at El Toro. Ken built that car with what's the San Diego builder?
Crawford.
Thank you. Yeah. Crawford built that car for him. Brian said, let's do this video. And I had a homie who is, you know, he's now a fireman. He's like, dude, have you seen this video? I'm like, and I remember texting Ken. I said, dude, congratulations. You broke down cubicle walls. You broke down cubicle walls, because somebody that didn't care about cars was like, holy snap. Like, look at this.
Yeah.
That was the secret of it. And it's still a unit of measure of like, let's make a gym. I mean, how many views does Gymkhana practice? Go ahead and somebody look it up now. But
I mean, it's not actually that much, because the story
ripped it off.
This was so early that they put the video on Ken's website, his personal website, not on YouTube. It was kenblockracing.com. And they put it out there. And the next thing he knows, it crashed that server, and B, he got a bill for like 18 grand or something like that for web hosting. Because remember, that used to be a thing.
Oh, and they're like, right.
And it had to be taken down. And they're like, what's going on? Like, what? So many people are visiting this website, and they're like, oh, there's this thing. Like, it's called YouTube. I don't know, whatever it is, like, you don't have to pay web hosting fees. You can just upload a video there. And they put it there, and it really took off again. But the first like 5 to 8 million views or something like that were all just like old school embedded on a website.
What do you know, here I am again, we open the conversation about EVs, what's going on. I'll just ask you, do you love, loathe, indifferent about talking about Hoonigan, Ken? Where are you at, man? Because
I love it, man. I love
it. We can switch gears if you feel uncomfortable or whatever.
No, no, I'm all about it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a huge, huge part of my life, and it shaped the opportunities that I have today, shaped everything I'm doing. Like everything I did with that team, with Ken, being there from the beginning. I mean, it was the absolute best schooling I could have ever gotten in my life, and I owe so much to it.
Yeah. It's I'm just welling up thinking about it. Like, God damn it, dude. God damn it. What a legend. The brightest stars burn out the quickest. And we're all supporting the Blockhouse Racing team, which I think is just, I'm DMing Leah. And so what are you doing with Leah? Like what's going on there?
So
What are you doing with the Block family?
I'm working with Leah and Lucy, Blockhouse Racing, Leah's program, just from a consulting side. I don't have the time to be there full time, but Lucy was the very first call when I was like, ready to take my next step. I'm like, hey, I know you guys are kind of on your back foot. Like, there's not a whole team set up there, and like, let's pick some direction. Let's get some design in here. Let's get some personality. Here's like some social stuff, and it's kind of encapsulating everything. So I'm actually going to Goodwood, flying out tomorrow
Sick.
with Leah. She's going to be driving a Williams 1982 championship winning Williams F1 car up the hill
Shut up.
with Alex Albon and James
Shut
Vowell.
up.
And yeah.
Oh my God. People are just like, man, humble brag. So I was at Las Vegas F1 around the pool with my wife, and there I am talking to Jensen Button.
Great dude, by the way.
Great amazing dude. It's like you wouldn't even know he's like an F1 champion. Like, I mean, obviously you look at him, he's handsome. You can't make eye contact with him. You turn to concrete.
Right. You're like, oh gosh.
But like, I wonder what Leah and the Block family would look like if Ken was still around.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we all do, right? Like, you
coulda, shoulda, woulda, right?
Yeah. And in a way, right now, that doesn't matter because it kind of is what it is in a way of you look at what Leah does and how she talks and in interviews and behind the wheel.
He's there.
He's 100% there in everything they do, the whole family. And like, it's amazing to see and watch. Like, again, I wouldn't have gone to work with them and do all this stuff if that promise wasn't there. But you see Leah get behind the wheel, and the raw talent is undeniable. It really is. Yeah. And just her attitude towards everything, the conversations you have with her, you're like, wait, you're not
18, almost 18.
You're not 35 years old. Like, how are we talking about this stuff? Like, yeah, she's almost 18. Like, she's so smart and super talented behind the wheel. And I'm just really excited to work with them and the team and everything to keep it going.
Yeah. Yeah. Goodwood Festival Speed. How amazing is that event? I know. And sorry to bring up Ken. He hated that event. I was like, Ken, how dope is Goodwood Festival? He's like, I fucking hate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't walk like 5 feet. Hey Ken. He's like, and Ken just, and you some people would confuse his shyness for rudeness, but he just was inundated with people. So Leah just caught that 1,000% now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She's in that deep too. And it's not that he hated the event. It's actually probably one of his favorite events, but he hated it because he couldn't experience the event because he would just get mobbed out by people anywhere he walked. I mean, I always say, I tell people it is the greatest car event in the world as it sits right now. There's nowhere else on the planet where you're sitting there looking at Ayrton Senna's 1988 F1 car, and then behind you at full chat, like literally going 100%, is a 787B Mazda, just like going flat out up the hill. Like, and then behind it is a 1930s something or another, full lock sideways, spitting fire out the side of it. Like, it's so crazy. Yeah.
And there's Pastrana and his family huckster. And then there's Mad Mike in a rotary McLaren. I mean, how many cars are debuted there? I mean, dude, Lord March, Duke of Richmond. My invite got lost in the mail. I know I'm joking. I love that event. There's no reason for me to be there. I've been 5 times, and if I never go again, that's it. So Goodwood Festival Speed. People always, so it's about an hour south of London. so Goodwood Circuit is down the road. You pass Rolls-Royce factory. That's where they hold the Revival, which is the Ren Fair of cars. So you dress up of era, pre-war or post-war, I think. Which I haven't been to Revival, but Festival Speed is all of it. And here's Sir Jackie Stewart next to Mark Webber, next to Lewis Hamilton, next to Emerson Fittipaldi, next to Jesse James, next to Ken Block. Here's Richard Petty, my son. We took Parker there many moons ago. He has a photo with the king, as a lot of people would describe him. Goodwood Festival Speed, dude. What an event.
It's a giant house party, but with all the motorsport legends you could ever imagine. Because that's really what it is. I mean, it's, the Duke has this estate, this property, and it's literally his driveway that he holds a hill climb race on. And just one of the greatest car shows around that too. I mean, I ran into Tanner there last year.
Faust.
And Tanner was driving a McLaren, Alan Prost's race-winning McLaren, 1,100 horsepower, in the wet. It rains, doesn't matter. Still driving up the hill. Like how crazy is that? It's so sick.
One of the years I went. So I've announced drifting, going up the hill, and I'm surrounded by all these Brits, and they love my accent because they're like, you're just so American.
You sound like the movies.
Yeah, you sound like the movie. You sound like movie cars. And Chris Forsberg, and you mentioned Tanner, but Tanner Faust, to clarify, 2-time Formula Drift champion, Rallycross champion, absolute legend. I went to the pre dinner. So did you go to the pre-dinner? Because there's the party, which is the black.
Yeah, the Goodwood ball. Yeah.
So
I've been to the ball. I haven't been to the pre-dinner.
Dude, the pre-dinner is 50 people, and it's in the house of Goodwood. And Forsberg, I was his +1, and here I am sitting next to Prost and who's the Porsche driver for Le Mans. So there's the documentary about the 24-hour Le Mans. What the Audi one? Which one is that? What's it called?
Yeah, Truth in 24.
Truth in 24. Yeah. And that was driven by, who was it? I'm sitting next to the two dudes that basically did battle, and they were talking shit.
Yeah, the whole time. It Tom Christensen?
Yep, Christensen and Prost. And I didn't know Christensen. Like, again, you know him by the car, you don't know him by the face.
Yeah.
These guys are I'm in between both of them. So in stereo, I have two, and I didn't know them. I was like, "What do you do?" They're like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Oh shit!" So here I am with Forsberg, Ralph Shaheen's across the table, Duke of Richmond's hosting 50 of us. I mean, we've lived crazy lives.
Oh God, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, the stories alone, like there's not any one place that you could capture them all.
I love it, and I love what you're doing, how you've done it. You've been behind the scenes so humbly. I think you've just really navigated a great, humble, transparent, joyful life. And I love you and your wife. I got the honor of officiating your wedding, so thank you so much. Outside of
that was phenomenal.
21 years, I've only missed 2 qualifying events. One was last year, 2023. I did an event for Ford, and the other one was for the Zaras' wedding in New Jersey, just down the street from Englishtown and Wall Township. And dude,
so good to have you there, man.
Oh, dude, my pleasure. Like Chick-fil-A, closed on Sunday. What else you got cooking, man? Like this is your highlight reel, man. Like
I said, we're trying to get the brand kicked off. We got a lot going there, and then the next thing I have coming up right after Goodwood immediately is another Hyundai partnership thing that I'm doing. I'm going to tell a story of what it's like for a regular guy to go wheel to wheel racing. So both Vinny and I are going to be racing in the SRO TC America Championship. I'm doing 2 rounds. Vin's doing 2 rounds. I'll be doing VIR in 2 weeks. That'll be the first time I ever race wheel to wheel. And then with, I think, Dai Yoshihara is he's racing in the same series. And then Vin's doing Road America. And then I think I do Barber and Vin does Indy. So that's another big thing that, like, go from Goodwood, stay on the East Coast, try and convert my time zone in 2 days, go out, practice Thursday, qualifying Friday, race Saturday, Sunday. But like you said, I'm really glad you brought it up, but it's really important to me. And I don't know how important it is outwardly to, the general consumer, but for me, it's so important to be about the thing that I'm selling. I think so that we could speak to that truth. So if we do a line about touring cars and the sick, Volvos and BMWs back in the day slammed on 19s, hitting curbs, flying around, I would feel way better telling a story about that, having taken part in touring car racing of some kind, and the same goes for rally. The same goes for F1. All that stuff is like, I want to first be in it to then be able to tell that story.
You live it, and you love it. And that's why I'm so stoked to have you on this podcast. Selfishly, I love you. I think, unfortunately, you're just down the freaking freeway and we don't see each other, but come over.
I'm barely home, dude.
Yeah, you and Lara need to come over and swim and hang out.
Yeah.
I love the crap out of you, man. I see you from a distance, and that's the beauty of it, man. Is life is about relationships, and we've, we came together for a cause, and you're still flying that flag, and I'm still flying it, man. And what's cool is here we are on Electrify's podcast, and it's about EV, but it is about progression and about being relevant. And I think you've done a good job, not just good job, a great job of being relevant and living in the shadows. And I think it's your time, dude. It's a driver's era, man. And you're in it, man. It's are you a Swiftie or no?
I appreciate that. No, I'm not. I respect her. I respect her from a marketing standpoint. Phenomenal. Also from Tennessee. I think there's probably somebody that we had in common as a school friend or something like that. Cause I think she went to school a county over from me when I lived in Tennessee, but no, not full Swiftie. I can't claim.
But are you a Timberlake guy?
I mean, I've listened to some JT stuff. No, but I as a young delinquent boy in the South, it was more like Project Pat and 3-6 that
I know. So. Well, I was thinking Tennessee, so that's
yeah.
I
more my speed.
I mistakenly I've never, dude. Do not tell a Swiftie you're bro, it's marketing. You're she's not marketing. Oh boy. Ooh. Anyways,
that's it. To them, it feels real. And Ken's number one thing he would always tell us, his favorite statement, his guiding light was perception is reality. And that's what it is. That she's building the perception. She's building that reality around herself. And at that point, it doesn't matter if it's marketing or not. That's just what's real to you.
Sorry, I just totally pivoted there. I love those kind of random streams of consciousness. Ken always catered himself as an art aficionado. It's one of the best art collections, from Jeff Tremaine to Hiroshi. That skateboard deck, Moosehead, is unbelievable. What are some artists I see that just live? I have the same Modernica chair.
It's a living.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Other side. There we go.
Camera's backwards. There we go. Got a bunch of mail on
What are some artists that you enjoy right now?
There's a lot of kids coming up. I really enjoy watching this new come up of young kids and their take on art and everything. There's a photographer that I'm going to be working with at Goodwood. His name is Chaz Warren, aka Chazzy Dog. He's a super young kid. And again, this is what I love about the new generation is seeing the youth's take on cars and car culture is really, really fun to me. So he's shooting all on film, all analog. It's so hard. It's challenging, expensive, but he shoots strictly film stuff. And it's this really dreamy effect, his angles and everything. He's super, super talented, and I love to see that in a new age perspective. So from a photography standpoint, he's very, very exciting. Then you have really cool stuff going on in the 3D rendering space. There's a German artist named Christoph Gromer. He does these really cool, just 3D clear, it looks like it's made out of acrylic. He's got this one video of an old Nokia cell phone, but it's all clear acrylic and just put to Apex Twin. And man, what a vibe. And that's just for one post, so much work for one post. He's really fun. And then obviously one of my favorite artists of all time, Death Spray. We worked with him a ton. Worked with him again on the Leah program. So the helmet you see that she's running in the F1 Academy, we worked with him and Leah on. We had the three of us conversation together of like, what's your influence? Like, you're not your dad's style, you're your own style. What influences you? And so we made that. Super stoked on how that came out. So
did you know I introduced Ken to Death Spray?
Oh, really? Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, that was a Gymkhana Grid Santa Pod, the first one, and I invited him out because throwback. Shout out Chris Hull. Chris Hull used to work at Alpine Stars.
Yeah,
he brought Death Spray in to do a Nelson Piquet Jr. livery, and that was the heat index on the NASCAR truck.
On the NASCAR truck.
Yep. And that's when Chris put that all together. David, aka Death Spray. I was like, hey man, I'm gonna be out here. We never met. Brought him out. He put a death coffin on the door jamb.
I remember that.
And then we went out to dinner, and that's when Ken and Death Spray met at Gymkhana Santa Pod.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So just I love this because I'm, just one of those little inside out too, like just going in and jogging the memory.
Yeah.
All right, full circle. EVs, complementing combustion, all these things. What are you anticipating for EV? You're looking at your Ron car, crystal ball, obviously working with Hyundai. What idealistic scenario would you like to see?
Yeah, I think with EV, a lot of the issues that exist right now are things like charging, battery longevity. And I look at it as you look at like a iPod when that came out to the iPhone we have now and the cloud and GPS and all this stuff. Like, I still think we're very much in kind of maybe the iPhone 1 era of EV, And this car, like, one of the most impressive things and the reason why we were able to easily put down such a fast time was that they created the battery in the Ioniq 5N to be able to last 2 full flat out laps of the Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Oh, wow.
And that's not easy.
No.
The Teslas that went up before us, even the Rivian to an extent, they, on the hill climb, experienced battery derating and overheating. We experienced none of that. By the time I got to the top, this is going flat out for 12 and a half miles up to 14,000 feet, just not lifting. We still had like 40%, 45% charge left and no overheating of the battery or anything. So I see that step, and I see more steps in batteries getting smaller, lighter, more efficient, more charging stations. And in between, I think there's a lot more interesting stuff that we could see in the hybrid realm and being hyper efficient with the gas engines we have now. So like I said at the beginning, I don't think it's going to be this one, like, tomorrow all gas power is banned and it's gone. It's like, nah, I don't really see that happening. You still have companies like Singer that are going to be doing their thing forever, really putting the peak of gas powered cars on a pedestal. And then, for commuting, for day-to-day stuff and things where it makes sense, I think EV is going to start seeing a lot more improvement.
And Vaughn talks about that. Vaughn, I had him early on when I started hosting this podcast over a year ago now. And he says, yeah, a second car is great. You have your Raptor, but then you have your Mach E. Like that's boom. I think that's a great balance. That's you're one with nature. You're one with, cost and efficiency. And yeah, it's really cool to, it's really cool. Like I said, selfishly, I get to jog people's minds and see where they're at, both infrastructure, professionally, and fun. I mean, you're having fun with it. And Matt Farah even called it a widget. It's a thing. It's a toaster. Which I is that the right answer? No, it's his answer.
I was at Matt was at the launch event that we had at Laguna Seca with the 5N, and I remember he got out of it and he was like, "What?" He's like, "What is this thing?" He's like, "This is ridiculous. It's so fast and kind of an animal. Like it drives wild. Like it's not tame at all in a good way." And I think you'll see a lot more people being surprised, as we move on, as we make these things more fun, I think you'll see a lot more of that.
Who was going back to Pikes Peak? Who was your biggest influence that helped you drive the 115 turns? How many turns?
156.
156.
Yeah.
Who was your biggest emotional support human? Or guidance? I have somebody in mind, and I want to see if you say the name.
Well, obviously Jeff Swart. Jeff Swart is the man of the mountain, and we've worked with him before a lot. But at the beginning, the main kind of Sherpa guide, everything for me was Robin Shute.
That was the name.
King of the mountain, 4 times, drives an insane vehicle up there, helped develop the cars, spearheaded the whole program. And honestly, like, it was so amazing to see that he gate kept nothing. He showed me his onboards. He told me all the spots where you could gain a lot of speed, where you can lose a lot of speed, the danger zones, the places you could push, how to prepare your body mentally, every step of the way. Robin was really, really like, after practice, Pikes Peak practice, you have to show up at the gate 4 a.m. and you're done by 8. Robin gets an Airbnb at the base of the hill. And so every time we would finish a test or practice, whatever, I would go sleep on his couch and then wake up and he'd be like, all right, mate, well, this one corner, you took really not great. You got to go out further and then apex later. And I'm like, dude, this is what an experience.
Did he watch your in-car, or how did he know that?
Yeah, just my onboards. I'd be watching him and he'd come over, hover over my shoulder. I'm like, man, don't. No, this was my best run, man. And he's like, no, mate, it's fine. He's like, I want to help you, on how to go fast here. He was instrumental. Him and a little bit later, but Paul Dallenbach helped a ton too. Paul was incredible in teaching me the secrets of the mountain.
What was the sketchiest corner? Can you recall? Like the
Evo corner, dude, by far. The top 2, the last 2 corners, which is Cog Cut and Olympic, those have gotten savagely bumpy. Like, really, the car catches air in a braking zone on both of those corners, and there's nothing on the other side. There's just a wall drop,
Yeah.
So those 2 were sketchy, but you take them slower. Evo corner, you can 100% see how that happened and how multiple incidents have happened there, because you're in this section where you really start getting up there in elevation. Oxygen starts being lower for you and the car. The road's a bit colder. It's a little bit more dusty. And you go on this like sequence of hairpins and straights and hairpins and straights. And one of them is like around the corner is a long braking zone. So if you brake too early, you lose all your momentum and you lose a ton of time. But the corner right after is Evo, looks exactly the same. So if you commit to it, like you commit to the earlier one, you're going off. You just are. So you really have to look for little things here and there. For me, it was like a little dark patch of dirt on the right side that was like, okay, dark patch there, Evo corners next. Like, if you don't have those little things that you pick up on here and there, you could so easily get lost on the mountain.
And how far is Evo corner into the course?
I'd say about halfway. Yeah, it's about.
That's crazy. And then you got to hold it together.
Yeah. But the great thing is that when you get through Evo, you have this kind of long straight and you go into a bit of a safer zone and you have this moment of like, all right, got that done. All right, I can relax a little bit because like I made it through that part. And then you got about 6 corners until it starts getting real sketchy again.
Did you cry when you made it to the top?
I yelled really loud. This
visceral,
everything that was pent up, every feeling that was there, everything is like, whoa, man, it's done. Okay. Oh, like you've been holding all this energy in for this whole run. Yeah.
Are you going back?
I'd really like to.
Yeah.
I didn't think I would, but honestly, like it's an addicting place. I could see why guys like Jeff have been doing it for 20 years. I know the corners I gave up speed at. I know where I could have been a lot faster. I know where I could have done this and that. Like I would do it again in a heartbeat.
How the simulators behind you, how big a role did the simulator play in your journey?
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really fun because I got to share a bit of the journey with Rob Dom. So I've known Rob, Rob Dom, 4-rotor RX-7 guy. We've done a lot of work with him on Hoonigan. Just from a personal level, he's a really great, again, super genuine dude that puts his all into it. So he saw me on the entry list and he's like, dude, I'm entering too. Holy crap, I don't even know where to start. I've been on the sim, but like I keep going off on this corner and that corner. So we had a little sim battle going in between us. And it forced us to just be on it all the time. If I was home, I was cutting laps on the sim. And it genuinely helps you remember the sequence of corners, the sections, everything. And we sim battled right up until the last like week or so like that. And he said it, I'll reiterate it. It really was with the biggest training tool I had on being on the mountain.
That's awesome, man. Well, Ron, I think we could talk for days, and the voyeurs are anybody tuning this obviously loves you and loves what you're doing. So I'm excited for this new era, the driver's era, man. I'm excited. Like I said, wholeheartedly. If it was just you and I love you. I think the world of you. I think you're a tremendous human being, a loyal friend, and just a good dude. So thanks.
I appreciate that, man. Love you right back. You've been on the journey, right? So it's been an amazing time so far.
Yeah, dude. And it's celebrate Ken. Just got to say that, celebrate him and live for him. And yeah, man, KB forever, but also Ron Car forever, dude. Like excited to see what you got cooking, man. And we're eagerly anticipating you sharing your journey in small ways and large ways. So thanks, man. And again, like I said, it's not exclusive to EV, but I think your hot take is exactly on point, and same sentiments, which is good. So moving the needle in more ways than one. So thanks, brother.
Appreciate that. Thanks so much for having me on here. It's been fun.
Yeah, dude. Where Ron Car on Instagram, Drivers Era
at Ron Car. That's most of my storytelling right now. And then Vinny's YouTube channel, Vintra, and then all the Hyundai stuff that we did on the mountain is on the Hyundai USA YouTube channel.
Awesome. Yeah. And Vin, I'm the voice of SEMA show, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's insane.
Creator of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. Creator of the year. Like that. Like I love that. And that's, it's so cool to see again, this era, this driver's era, and us, it's not about me, it's about we, and always. Really just moving it, man. And here's even my son going to school, graduate high school. He's going to go to school for journalism and media, which I know you love journalism.
Yes, dude, I'm all about that. Because at the end of the day, if you could tell a story, doesn't matter what platform, if it's TikTok, YouTube, blogs, magazines, carrier pigeon, just tell a good story wherever it is.
Smoke signals, burnouts, takeovers. No, don't do takeovers.
No, don't do those.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Thank you so much. Ron Zaras, aka Ron Car. Check him out. Drivers Era. Check him out on Instagram. Check it out. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Peace. Thanks for listening to the Electrify podcast, brought to you by the creators of Electrify Expo. Be sure to catch full video episodes on YouTube at Electrify TV and follow along on social media for daily clips and more.